The team of special counsel Robert Mueller today interviewed former Trump chief of staff Reince Prie, Politico reported. Mueller is expected to interview other Trump aides like Chief Counsel Don McGahn and Communications Director Hill Picks. A lawyer for Prie told Politico that Prie was interviewed voluntarily and was happy to answer all of their questions. Why this matters: as chief of staff, Prie was central to many of the Trump actions Mueller is probing, like the firing of FBI Director James Comey and interactions with Russian officials. Here's the latest: around 29,500 people are without power, per the San Francisco Chronicle. Over 221,000 acres of land have been burned, per ABC. Over 20,000 residents have had to evacuate. 3,900 people are staying in 43 shelters. 250 people were still missing in Sonoma County on Thursday night, ABC reports, most of whom are elderly. Over 2,800 homes were destroyed in Santa Rosa. Around 35,000 structures have been destroyed. Officials expect the current 32-person death toll to rise while they continue searching for people, the LA Times reports. There's the same level of air pollution in the Bay Area currently as there is emitted over a year by drivers across the state, per NBC. At least 7 marijuana farms have been destroyed, according to the New York Times. 19 attorneys general, all Democrats, are suing to stop the Trump administration from ending the Affordable Care Act's cost-sharing subsidies to health insurers. Why it matters: California Attorney General Xavier Becerra had threatened the lawsuit last night after acting HHS Secretary Eric Hargan announced the subsidy payments, which lower consumers' out-of-pocket costs, would be stopped immediately. Insurers are expected to raise their premiums to cover their costs, and some could pull out of the markets altogether, since they have to keep covering consumers' costs even though they're not getting reimbursed. Our Democratic attorneys general will fight this latest attempt by the White House to gut the health and well-being of our country. Putting vulnerable lives at risk for political gain is unacceptable, Sean Rankin, executive director of the Democrat Attorneys General Association, said. Facebook announced its on-demand food service Friday, which will let users order food without leaving the platform from either a number of food ordering services, like DoorDash and ChowNow, or restaurants like Five Guys, Papa John's, and Panera. Users can now browse restaurants nearby by visiting the Order Food section in the Explore menu. Why it matters: it's another effort by Facebook to expand into the service economy. The tech giant has already adopted new service features like crowdfunding and shopping. Some argue that tech companies, like Facebook, but also Amazon and Google, are using their scale and data to enter new sectors more easily, which could be an antitrust concern. Saudi state oil company Aramco is considering dropping plans to go public with the biggest IPO listing in history, and is looking into a private share sale to some of the world's largest wealth funds and investors, including China, the Financial Times reports. Bottom line: an international listing could still be an option even after a private sale, but most likely not until at least 2019, according to the FT. An Aramco spokesperson told Axios, a range of options are still under review, no decision has been made, and the IPO process remains on track. The IPO was a part of an economic reform plan spearheaded by Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in response to the kingdom's recession. Salman has said the company could be worth $2 trillion. The FT estimated it to be worth closer to $1 trillion. The background: the White House said yesterday that it would stop making payments for the ACA's cost-sharing subsidies, known as CSR payments. It cited a federal district court ruling that said it's unconstitutional for the president to make those payments if Congress hasn't appropriated the money for them. That is indeed what Judge Rosemary Collyer ruled last spring, in a lawsuit House Republicans filed against the Obama administration. That ruling has been on the books for more than a year, but Trump has been making the payments, doing exactly what President Obama did, and what the court found illegal, for the first 7 months of his presidency. Why the about-face? On the same day Trump unveiled an executive order also designed to chip away at the ACA this administration inherited litigation over the legality of CSR payments, Health and Human Services spokeswoman Caitlin Oakley said. Following a careful legal analysis, the current Attorney General issued a legal opinion regarding CSR payments that is consistent with the federal court decision. What comes next? If Congress doesn't step in to guarantee funding for the program, the administration could find itself back in court quickly. These subsidies go straight to insurance companies, who then are required to lower the out-of-pocket costs for certain customers. Insurers are still on the hook to provide those cost reductions. And the ACA says the Department of Health and Human Services shall pay them for that service. Insurers would likely argue in court that they're being forced to cover the costs of a program they can't get out of, while the administration withholds money the law directs it to pay out. A group of Democratic attorneys general has already been allowed to get involved in the suit between Trump and House Republicans and could try to keep the appeals process alive. Some have also said they're willing to file fresh lawsuits over Trump's announcement. A few other highlights from his comments before heading off to Beltsville, MD on cost sharing: that money is going to insurance companies to prop up insurance companies, to lift up their stock price, and that's not what I'm about. On working with Dems, the Democrats should come to me. I would even go to them. I'm only interested in one thing: getting great health care for this country. On Puerto Rico: as Puerto Rico is concerned, I love Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has to get the infrastructure going. I'm gonna help them. On North Korea options: if something can happen where we negotiate, we're always open to that. If there is something other than negotiation, believe me, we're ready. Go deeper: the Iran deal explained in July. Qualcomm asked the U.S. International Trade Commission to block the import of some iPhones, but only those that use an Intel, rather than Qualcomm, modem. The new lawsuit represents a much broader challenge to Apple's iPhone business. Qualcomm declined to comment beyond the Bloomberg report. But an Apple representative said Apple believes deeply in the value of innovation, and we have always been willing to pay fair and reasonable rates for patents we use. In our many years of ongoing negotiations with Qualcomm, these patents have never been discussed and in fact were only granted in the last few months. Regulators around the world have found Qualcomm guilty of abusing their position for years. This claim is meritless and, like their other courtroom maneuvers, we believe this latest legal effort will fail. Why Sanders? I think that right now, no one can deny that Bernie Sanders is probably one of the most powerful U.S. senators on progressive issues, women's issues, mobilizing millennials, Mallory told the Detroit Free Press. Other speakers: U.S. Rep. Maxine Waters, actress and producer Piper Parabozuli-Cohn, CNN political commentator and columnist Nomiki Konst, co-founder and executive director of the Accountability Project Leah Greenberg, co-founder of the Trump resistance group Indivisible Liliana Reyes, a transgender Latina activist Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, Stosh Kotler, CEO of Bend the Arc Jewish Action Nina Turner, president of Our Revolution Ijin Poo, executive director of the National Domestic Workers Alliance Michigan Democratic State Rep. Stephanie Chang, Detroit City Councilwoman Raquel Castaneda Lopez, Michigan Democratic gubernatorial candidate Gretchen Whitmer.